Good morning. I'd like to call the Executive Committee meeting for Tuesday, May 24th to order. If we can get a roll call, please.
Mr. Lear? Present. Mr. Hess? Present. Ms. Polk?
Present.
Ms. Weber? Present. Mr. Payton? Ms. Parker? Present. Mr. Fairfield? Present. Mr. Carrico? Present. Mr. Featherling? Present. Mr. Miller?
Present.
Mr. Long? Present. Mr. Hunter? Present. Mr. Wheeler?
Present.
Mr. Seroy? Present. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We have no request for public comment today. Approval of the minutes, April 26th, 2022. Motion there. Mr. Hunter, second. Mr. Lear. All those in favor? Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, do I need to be voted in to be virtual?
Yeah, you know, you're right, actually. Is there a motion there? Mr. Long?
Polk.
Ms. Polk's with a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye. There has to be one. I had to vote against that, Chad. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Yeah. So we'll let minutes reflect that Mr. Miller voted in support of the minutes now that he's official. Information systems. Actually, that legislative first, Mr. Lear. Do you have anything today? I have nothing to do. Nothing to report? Nothing on the legislative front. You know, obviously the governor's still signing bills that I'll just stop there. I did get a letter from ComEd, 20% increase on residential and business rates. We knew it was coming, but that notification just came out. So you may remember that we were locked in to the ComEd rate. Once it rose above a certain level, we're pegged to that. There's no differential between the aggregation and the ComEd rate now. So yes, Mr. Hunter.
Chairman Wheeler, doesn't that have to go before the ICC?
No, I don't think so. I think that rate hike is in effect. They just announced their new rates. Now I'll go have to read the fine print, but it was put to me that these are the new rates.
They're proposing that. I always thought that, you know, they can propose, but it has to go before the ICC. Well, we'll see what happens.
I'll look at it, and maybe it has.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it could be. Yeah.
And so I'll look at it though. I was expecting this. We all were, you know, because so much of the energy production relies on natural gas, and there's some in the room who may know how that system works when they work on that equipment, right, Mr. Kerkstra? So. Information systems, Mr. Duval, did you have anything for us today?
Again, just want to make sure I'm available to you if you have any questions. As you know, we're on budget. We're always on budget. Specifically, we've been able to catch up with a lot of things. We're moving forward with some projects that have been on hold. Now the county seems to be back to normal, so it's allowed us to catch up on some preventative maintenance items. Some that were sorely needed, but we're caught up. In addition to that, we do have new projects going on with the jury. We're working with the jury commission. They're updating their software and hardware. We begin replacing equipment there, helping with the phone lines. They're going to be implementing some software that will give additional services to the public through the web. They'll talk more about that when they're closer to this. We're working with the state's attorney's office. Some of the money that you guys approved through the ARPA funds last year, well, as you know, the pipeline is still slow. We just got some of the last of that equipment that was ordered last year. We delivered that to the state's attorney's office. We will begin working with them to slowly deploy it because we have to do that in between normal maintenance. In the annex building, we're doing some things that we're replacing some lines and upgrading some switches and things to help the various departments in there. So we're more getting back to where we were. We've been doing that the last month, which is helpful. And we love when the summer comes up because people tend to go on vacation, which allows us to do more of what we'd like to without disrupting services. So if there's any questions you have. So.
Start with Mr. Hunter first. Microphone, sir. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Kevin, any interns at all?
No, then we wouldn't be on budget at that point. Yeah. Interns really can't work with us since what we deal. Years ago I did deal with them, but that was less when we were doing less of what we do, we're so integral to the judicial offices. People can't access the information that we
Confidentiality and stuff,
yeah, so we wouldn't be able to guarantee judges and state's attorney we actually see their data, so we can't have somebody access that.
I do want to say something about interns in general, because I get asked this quite a bit. In order to have an intern, you have to have someone who has enough time to work with the intern, or they're not just labor. And so we're here to grow the next generation if you have interns, not to use them for labor. And when you're running bare bones, when everybody's all hands on deck, it's really hard to bring out someone, because all they're doing is following you around and watching you. You're not actually engaging and helping them grow in their career. So I hope we get to the point that we can do more of that. But it's always been, every day's on fire, you're on fire, your desk is, you know what I mean? Everything is always a fire drill. And when you just don't have extra staff to help mentor that next generation. So I would say that we want to get to that point. We just haven't had it yet. A highway does it in the summertime because they're able to get out there and they got extra work to do. But we just don't. So.
Yes, exactly. For our department more so than the other one. Maybe some other HR may have more of an issue too with that. There's nothing that we do that that person has to work for the county officially. You have to do a background check because we see all of your information. We see all the critical information.
Sorry.
Stuff maybe you don't want us to see. We see.
No, thank you for that. One question. Sorry, Kevin, I got to ask you this because Anita's going to talk about it. Explain, if you could, for the committee, because they may not know what has happened with cyber insurance and the steps that we have, not necessarily the intricate steps, but what do we have to do in order to justify the rates that Anita's going to talk about later?
Okay. I was hoping Anita would speak more to that. Specifically, before this happens, like, I believe the renewal came back before we thought it would. And I believe they've made stricter policies given what's going on in the world now. So they send you a list of things that need to be looked at and handled. We were already working on some of those things that have happened. These are additional steps that you normally wouldn't have done. Enable for them to insure you or even lower your rate, you have to have these steps. What we do is we take that and try to go beyond that. Even more so, I'll rearrange my budget for those items because those are security items. They're web-facing things to do with your internet. We have to implement stricter guidelines, and we have done those guidelines, and then you have to report back. Well, they don't just take your word for it, they go test and make sure that you've done things. So I'm trying to keep it generalized and not go into detail, but that's more from our point of view. There are specific things that you and Anita deal with on theirs that I'm not privy to. You just say, go fix this.
But they're evaluating your system and your management of your system.
Yes.
That's what's being evaluated, and that includes us and the sheriff's department, but they have a separate secured area for themselves. Correct?
It's a long document that you have to go through line by line, answer it. That document isn't something you can just sit there and through. You have to look at it, then go research to make sure you are answering it right, because they're gonna, as much as they can, test it from the outside. We're already doing that because we deal with the election process, so we try to keep that. But they may bring up something, all right, here's a new thing that the world's testing from. Great, let us know that, we'll go do that too.
Okay. Thank you. Just provides a basis of understanding when we start talking about this stuff, rates going up or down, and what that judgment is based on going forward. So thank you. Was there any questions for Kevin beyond that? Health Department, Mr. Beavis. He's got a monthly report in the packet.
No strings.
Just has a little
You can just mention
tidbits of info.
I don't want. Snipes ask all these questions.
Good morning. I gave you my report. I sent that to Kelly last Friday, so some of these numbers have not really changed that much, but these are based on 5 days ago. So far in Kankakee County, since the beginning of the pandemic of COVID-19, we've got 29,569 confirmed cases of COVID. There have been 366 deaths attributed to COVID since the beginning. We did go, as I had reported last month, we had gone, well, I can't remember the number that I had stated last month, but we had gone 52 days without a death. Up until last week, we had another death attributed to us. So we're up to 366, but that's approximately then one death in the last almost 2 months. So that's very good compared to the numbers we were seeing, 6 months ago, a year ago, in regards to the number of deaths that we were seeing. We've given over 100, the county has given over 140,650 COVID vaccination doses that have been administered into arms so far since 2020. We've given over 27,500 booster doses. The county is at 51%. That number is just not climbing anymore. Most people coming into the health department and apparently into the pharmacies and doctor's offices are getting booster shots. They're not necessarily getting original shots, but there are a few, and so that number does creep up. But it'll take, it could take another 2 or 3 weeks before we even get into 52%. People that are still considered at high risk, we're recommending they get vaccinated, wear the masks indoors, areas of high spread, stay home if you're sick, get tested, wash your hands frequently. That education's not changing. That's my COVID news. I did want to just say, a number of other things that the health department is working on. COVID is not the only thing that the county health department does. We have over 18 grants and a ton of services that we provide. I can make that information available to you if you're interested. We were recently awarded a $10,000 grant from the Community Foundation for a child passenger safety program to supplement one of our car seat programs. So that's going to be great. We're going to be able to do a lot of education at some health fairs, at the farmers market. We have appointments that you can come to the health department. We will evaluate individuals' vehicles for their seats that they have, whether they're old, installed correctly. Some people don't even have seats. A lot of times you'll have couples that'll have a baby come from the hospital because maybe they hadn't thought of the car seat yet. They've thought of everything else but not the car seat. And so we can get those installed, and that's with this grant and the other program that we have, these are free to those individuals, so they don't have to get charged for that car seat. I did want to say that Amy LaFine, she is our Director of Client Services. She was recently recognized as one of 2 Zonta Women of Achievement in our community. They had a dinner and award a week or so ago. The other individual was a Dr. Kathleen O'Connor, who was also recognized. Amy oversees our WIC program, that's Women, Infants, and Children. Also the Family Case Management program, which involves education for mothers and their children, and also any parents who have foster children. We help manage the health of those children. She's also in charge of the Communicable Disease Division, which has been very involved with the COVID and all other immunizations, and then our clinic services, so STDs and things like that when people come in for those appointments that we have. She's very involved in the community outside of work. Obviously, she's very passionate to public health, always has been. She's from this community, so we're very proud of her, and I just wanted to make that known to you all, that she had received that award along with Dr. Kathleen O'Connor. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. We've been posting many educational and upcoming events to help promote the awareness, address stigma, and then let people know about the resources available within our community for anyone who's been suffering for that. Personally, I can say that I have suffered through some things over the last 3 years, so I know a number of other individuals, whether it was the death of a loved one, whether it was the loss of a job, the lockdowns, children being kept out of school and not being able to play with their friends, those types of things all impact us in small and large ways. And so this month we're helping to promote that educationally. A number of other things that we have been promoting on our Facebook and trying to share with our collaborative agencies within the community. Fentanyl Awareness Day, Hispanic Hepatitis Awareness Day. There's a new resource for a crisis text line, so people with mental health issues can call this number, text it 24/7. Provides mental health support and intervention. We put information on there about the tobacco quit line, e-cigarettes, vaping, marijuana, and its associated risks. We celebrated National Nurse Week last week with our nurses on our staff, provided some information and some fun events at the health department. May is also National Lyme Disease Awareness Month. Obviously, our area is impacted by that. We've had deaths in the past. Many of you know some individuals. I know personally I do. So we posted information about ticks, and then obviously as the warmer weather is starting, we've got mosquitoes will be starting up. So, you know, West Nile virus is in our community, so we're gonna have information about that. We have posted a lot of information and are working with our clients on the infant formula shortage. If you've been reading or hearing about that in the news, our WIC program is having to reach out to, you know, all the mothers and families that we serve. We're coordinating through their doctors, trying to find alternative sources for them to help supplement the food that those babies need if they are on formula versus the breastfeeding, or some people breastfeed and have the formula as a supplement. So Illinois has a contract with a particular brand which is suffering right now which is part of why this shortage is out there. All other states in the country at this point have come up with some other better alternatives. Some of those are waivers, for example. So Illinois, as I said, has this contract for a particular brand. And since that is in shortage right now, what other states did is that they created a waiver, for example, that they would say for a period of time will allow you to use your WIC card, you know, this WIC money that you can get to help pay for good, healthy food and baby formula for other brands that would not normally have been on a contract. Illinois hasn't done that yet. Illinois actually still hasn't done anything to supplement anything other than they have indicated they're going to do everything they can to help, but other states have done 1, 2, and 3 things to help you know, their families. So it is a struggle for us and our families. We have over 1,800 families that we provide WIC services for. Many of those, you know, the formula. So just to let you know, though, we are working with those families and their doctors to try to help them as best we can with what Illinois allows us to. And then lastly, I would just say, and I know if Mr. Hunter, if I don't address it properly, you can ask me. The county is experiencing surges in cases. The whole state is. A number of counties have gone into the high transmission rate. Kankakee County just moved into the medium transmission rate. We had been low since they had recategorized this new, you know, they took away the positivity rate, as I had told you a few months ago. The transmission is there. We are seeing anywhere from 30 to 50 new cases a day. I've not had COVID personally myself, but I've got family members and a number of friends who are experiencing it. We're having some individuals at work that are getting again. You know, at this point, I can't say there's rhyme or reason. People who are vaccinated and fully boosted are getting it. People who aren't vaccinated obviously have a greater chance of getting it. What we are seeing locally, though, is that it's very transmissible. The symptoms are kind of intense for a couple of days, and then it seems to go away. So like a very bad cold or a case of the flu, it's not as lethal at this moment as obviously COVID was originally at the beginning and was with Delta and Omicron and what we were seeing then. So that's a positive. And we're encouraging, you know, obviously individuals to, if they have those test kits, or, oh, that was the other thing we have posted again, there are still free test kits that people can order by going to covid.gov/tests. That was provided by President Biden a number of months ago. They had 500 million test kits that they made available. People could call up. Not a lot of people are calling up, so there's still plenty available. But I know they come in very handy. If any of you wake up sick one day and you have these little test kits, you can check and see, determine if you're positive or not, and then take the appropriate action in regards to what we're recommending you do. So we're encouraging that. The last thing I will say is that a lot of people will say, well, what kind of variant are we seeing in the community? Well, I don't know. A lot of all of them, probably. Because of the home test kits and less people actually going and getting the official test to determine if they're positive or not, the only ones who are recording these officially would be your urgent care centers and hospitals. And as I told you before, a lot of these tests then get sent to laboratories to genotype them to determine, is it Delta, is it Omicron, is it the BA1, is it the BA1 12.2? So with the home test kits, none of that's happening because you're just doing it at home. If you're positive, you're negative, you may or may not call the health department to say you are, but then those tests are not able to be sent off to be checked. So we are not seeing a lot of information coming through our communicable disease nurses right now that is indicating to us which one of those we're technically seeing right now. The version we are seeing, though, in our community, as I said, seems to be less lethal, but very highly transmissible. We are seeing, for the most part, a lot of children in schools are exhibiting signs and symptoms of what their parents probably think are allergy symptoms, or maybe not even showing symptoms, but are spreading this. If you remember, they are the last group that has not been able to receive a vaccine yet. As a result, they come home, probably transmit to their parents, who then go to work and transmit it to us. And I think that that's where we're seeing this last, I hope it's the last, but this current surge in our numbers. I won't call it an outbreak because we're definitely not at anywhere near 200 cases a day or plus as we were before. But we've had a couple of 50+ days in the last week. The last 2 days, we've seen those numbers coming down. We'll keep monitoring that. I hope they continue to go down. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Anyone? Mr. Carrico?
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Beavers, thank you for the report. I'd like to ask you, just last week, we spoke about a possible future presentation to be given to the board, the county board. And could you give us just a general overview? It doesn't have to be in-depth, because if we do a presentation, it'll be more of an in-depth one. I could give you like an overview of the mission and the main organizations involved with the MAP, or the Health and Wellness Program.
The health department and the 2 hospitals are required to be certified, and the hospitals are required to have their certifications done every 3 years. The health departments are required to do theirs every 5 years. Ultimately, through those certification processes, each of the 3 agencies are to determine what are the greatest health risks within their community. A number of years ago, before I was administrator, probably before Bonnie was the previous administrator, the hospitals and the health department decided to partner together and come up with one community health improvement plan. The acronym is CHIP. So with one CHIP, to determine what are the 3 top health issues within the county, so that the 3 agencies wouldn't be coming up with 3 reports that might have 9 different health issues, because what maybe is important to the hospital, or what they determined was an issue, might be a little bit different than the other hospital, might be a little bit different than what the health department did. So the 3 agencies got together and formed the MAP process, which stands for Mobilizing Action for Partnership and Planning within the community. Then within those 3 organizations, we created a committee, not we, the health department, but that process, those 3 agencies created a steering committee that involves as many agencies within the community that serve somehow in the public health system, the hospitals, the health department, county board, the police departments, fire departments, ambulances, NAACP, Hippocrates, lots of people, Aunt Martha's, deal with health in some form or fashion, different than just what the health department does. So every 3 to 5 years, there's a cycle, and a new set of health issues is determined, and we've just finished a cycle, and we're preparing the report that indicates then what the top 3 health issues are. And then we were going to want to take that on the road, because as agencies, our workers, and we know as leaders what we're doing, but many in the community do not know or understand what we're doing. And so sometimes when they reach out and maybe even call Chairman Wheeler, for example, or some of you and say, where can I get this or where can I get that? And sometimes people don't know, we can let you know that, well, maybe the health department is not providing that service, but Aunt Martha's is. Maybe Aunt Martha's isn't providing that service, but maybe you can get it at the hospitals. And that's where, so there's subcommittees underneath this steering committee. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And so as we finalize that report is what Mr. Carrico was talking about. We'd like to prepare some sort of a presentation such as the Economic Alliance did last month or does periodically to just inform you all then, you know, of this. But there are, I don't know, 30 to 50 organizations. I can't name them all, and I'd leave some off the list, and that wouldn't be fair. But within this community, there has been great collaboration for many years to do 4 assessments every 3 years. And those 4 assessments, just in a nutshell, are we first gather all the data of the health most accurately as we can at that time of everything that's going on within the community. That's the first assessment. The second one then is an assessment where we reach out to the public and do a survey. What do you think about the health system within the community? Not just the health department, you can answer those questions, but it's the health system. What do you know about what everybody does? Then the third one is what we ask the leaders within the community. What do you think about this? Then the fourth assessment is putting that all together and trying to come up then with what are the top health issues within the community. We vote on those things. Once they're stamped by the steering committee, we then have these subcommittees work on things over the course of a number of years to, you know, we need this kind of a training, we need this kind of a service or something like that. Sometimes it's just expanding on what we're doing or not doing, and then we try to do those things to help improve the health so that the next time we do another cycle, we're hoping that we've seen improvement so that we can remove that health issue and possibly start with another one.
So what, is there a 3-year-old version of this that's now being kind of updated right now, and that's what you're saying is?
It just was updated, yes.
It just was?
Yes.
And you'd want to take that on the road and kind of talk about?
We just finished the last cycle.
Okay.
We're getting the brochure printed.
Okay.
I can bring or send a copy of what the old one was, and I could even send you the draft version of what the new one is. But the idea is, and once we have that, we make the presentation here, for example, and other places we'd like to, but then we make this available to agencies to put on their Facebooks, their social media, take it to libraries, put it in places so that people can see this. It's a three-page trifold that just kind of says, this is the steering committee, this is what it is, this is who it is. It basically answers the who, what, where, when, how, why. And every 3 years, that is being done and updated, yes.
Is the actual data sets and all of that a public document as well?
Yes.
Okay. The reason I ask is we're just starting on our needs assessment, and a piece of that was to defer to what this group has already done rather than redo that work. Just bring that in as almost a basis of information. We're talking about just health. And then on the other side, we'll be looking at interconnections with recidivism and, you know, not substance abuse, mental health. That should be there, but those connections between everything, workforce issues, anything else that we're finding, you know, violence prevention programs.
All that's in there.
So we're going to be, we're going to expand on that stuff. But I was hoping to use what you guys have already done as a foundational document as well, as long as it was a publicly available document.
The beauty is all you have to do is say, please. It's on our website. The new one will be posted on our website. We share this within the community. The more people that see it, the better. The timing couldn't be more perfect because we just finished that cycle. So we're beginning a new 3-year cycle where we're working on those 3 health issues, but then beginning to just meet regularly and see how the committees are doing, that type of thing. That's the meeting you attended, Mr. Carrico. And then within the next year, we'll set up a timeline and then start to plan out the next assessments as we move forward. But the information you need, as you've talked about, Chairman, is right there and available.
Okay, good. Well, it just makes sense why we pay for that and actually have people go through that process again when they just did it.
Right.
You know, so we'll take that information and say thank you.
One of the weaknesses, you know, as we go through some of these, was that it was determined that, as I said earlier, we know what we're doing, and if other people have kind of forgotten, which is why we asked for representation from county board and, you know, the colleges, everybody, is we kind of need those leaders to be aware so that they can share that within the community so that it's not forgotten, so that all of a sudden maybe you don't possibly go off saying, well, as a county board, we need to do these 4 assessments, then find out halfway through spending all that money, it's already being done within the community.
Yep. Any other questions for John? Mr. Hunter?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. John, you gave us some, you know, important data. 140,600 some vaccinated. 51% of the county population has been vaccinated, and really important data in terms of 29,000 cases of COVID. And you talked about new strains and so forth. You know, you've done some special initiatives, you know, the last couple of years. Are there plans for you to do some new and innovative things that you haven't done in the past?
New and innovative, I'm not sure. We are constantly talking within our administration team as to, you know, deliverables that we're still trying to accomplish. We are not opposed to still trying to go out within the community to places where the people are in crowds to try to promote the vaccinations. As I said, we're not really getting anybody walking in our door. I don't know what the pharmacies are seeing in regards to people walking up and saying, I'm ready for my shot now. It's far and few in between, but people are doing that. However, we do know we have, I believe, the Hispanic population in Kankakee County is the highest vaccinated group. The Caucasians is the second highest group at about 49%, and the African Americans are down there at about 42%. Yeah. So those are some populations we definitely need to better serve. And how can we do that? We went out last year to a number of communities. You were at some of those events, and early on, we saw what we would consider some successes, and later on, it was hard picking to get anybody to show up. But anybody we can vaccinate if they want one is an achievement and a victory as far as I'm concerned. So if the need is there, again, if we're not thinking of something, I encourage anyone on this group, including you, or agencies that we work with, give us a suggestion. We'll look at that and see if it's doable within the context of our staffing and our time and our resources.
So that means that you'll be at the county fair and at the Hippocrates health fair, because they got a lot of entities that'll participate in school district, NAACP, Hispanic Partnership at that health fair.
At the well, not exactly in regards to the discussion we had about the county fair. Now, the health department only just met yesterday to discuss with the admin team. We've not been out to the county fair for a number of years. There's a cost associated with that, but it's not very expensive, and it's something that we could do. But for now, it was for educational purposes. I don't know that it was for vaccinations. Last year, there was a team from the state of Illinois that went out to the county fair to vaccinate. It did not go very well. I'll leave it at that. Now, if we go out there, I'm hoping, and we vaccinated, I'm hoping that we would get a different type of response. Now, that being said, we're paying for a booth to provide education, but going to some other health fairs, the idea of those would be to potentially provide vaccination if that organization wants us to. And as I said, through staffing and resources, we can manage it.
So what kind of carrots would you consider using in terms of enhancing the vaccination rate?
Saving your life is the best I can do. We have no money. We can't do incentives like some of these other organizations were able to do. So we get vaccine. Our role is to protect and educate and monitor the health of the county. If you coming, using you as an example just for this conversation, if getting you to come up and get a shot after 3 years of 1 million people dying is that I'm giving you $25 or a car wash, I don't understand why you're even coming up to the table.
Mr. Ciro, you had something?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Beavis, I appreciate all the data that you're bringing to the committee today. I was wondering if this data is being collected. You said there's almost 51% of the population has been fully vaccinated, and we still have cases of COVID coming in. Is there somebody taking the data of if you're vaccinated and still contracting COVID? Do we have that amount of vaccinated COVID positives, non-vaccinated COVID positives, and that such data? Is anybody collecting that such data? And then my second question, and I'll make it quick, do we know what our mortality rate has gone from current to previous, pre-pandemic? What's our mortality rate? Has it gone up 3%, 5%, 10%? 15%?
Based on the current number, you mean?
Based on the current number of where we were pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. This is 366 deaths, but I'm sure that's from what date? 2000.
It's from the beginning.
From 2019 or till
2020, early 2020 when the first death occurred.
Yeah. So what's our mortality rate? Where are we at in lieu of the country?
I don't have that number specifically, but I can get that for you.
It's just
I would imagine it's down, since we've not had but one death in the last 2 months. If you compare, the months that we were getting 40 and 45 deaths a month, obviously 45, and then in 2 months we've had one. That would definitely be a lower number. In regards to the Kankakee County Health Department, I am unable to have staff dedicate their time to tally all the numbers of who's got what shot, 3 shots, 4 shots, booster shots, did they have and did they get COVID. And right now, but the state, I believe, is, and they have indicated, if they've not already, that they were going to attempt to put that information on their website to at least provide individuals that are curious about that to try to see what. Now, early on, a year ago, obviously, there was a lot better numbers that were provided that kind of showed if you were vaccinated, the rate of contagious COVID positive was this number, and unvaccinated was obviously much higher. But at this point, many people are experiencing, I'm seeing it at the health department, personally within my family, I have people who are fully vaccinated, have been boosted, and got this new strain. But we're losing control of the numbers, not only at the health department level, in the county level, in the state level, but in the country level, because we all are doing our own tests for the most part now. And those aren't being reported.
Or not testing.
Yeah,
and I understand that part.
And if you are sick and potentially positive and haven't reported it, the number means nothing anymore. Other than we do know that we're seeing, for example, if there were 30 positive cases yesterday, those are positive tests that have been confirmed. There probably is way more than that that's actually out there in the community, which is why we're probably seeing the surge in the cases that we're seeing, because people, it's just allergies, I'm out in the garden, it's just the sniffles, or I'm asymptomatic.
Well, to my point, the people that are getting the positive tests currently are probably those going to medical facilities because they're so sick that they require medical treatment.
That is an accurate statement, more so because those are the ones then that have to report the positive cases.
Right.
Just hopefully this is a quick one. I know I saw this number at one point, but there was regions of the U.S. and they had it broken out by the percentages of vaccinations for different categories, i.e. at-risk populations. The people that have those medical conditions over a certain age, those ones that we said all along, highly recommended they get vaccinated. and that number was well over 80% at the time. This was a few months ago. Has that data, do you think that plays out here locally, that those at risk, we have a good representation, if you will, a good number of people that are vaccinated, our at-risk population is protecting itself? Because as evidenced by the deaths, or lack thereof.
Chairman, I'm not sure I can answer that specifically, but I think within context, a lot of the numbers possibly bear out. Obviously, when COVID first came through, we knew nothing about it, and it was you know, A1 virus at that point. It decimated the elderly and those most vulnerable, the ones in the nursing homes. Then when it was done with that, then it said, well, what's left? Oh, look, here's some 50 and 60-year-olds who aren't in nursing homes, and it went after them. Then the vaccine became available, and studies started to show that people with underlying medical conditions, you know, diabetes, high blood pressure, overweight, smokers, drinkers, those types of things were more at risk to getting severe illness, not necessarily dying. So I think that a lot of those numbers, yes, if you look at the average age of those who were impacted the most, what we see now is a lot of people from little kids to adults getting sick, similar to what before COVID was, boy, I've got the flu. It knocked me on my keister and I've been home for 3 days, but I feel better now. That's a lot of what we're seeing, which is probably why we've only had the one death in 2 months. The hospitals are reporting people in the hospital, but nobody in an ICU bed and nobody on a vent. The virus at this point appears to be getting weaker, which is what we want, because we can go from the pandemic phase to, praise God, I hope, the endemic phase, and then that's when we'll be able to say we're back to normal or are new better.
All right, Mr. Hunter, then.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, my last question, Mr. Beavis, you articulated that the Hispanic population is the most vaccinated group. Is that correct, what you said?
By population size, yes.
Yeah. You know, I serve on the Hippocrates Clinic Board, and I was wondering, have you had the opportunity to assess the efforts of Hippocrates and Dwayne Dean at the Living Room, because they've done initiatives in terms of vaccinations? Have you done any empirical analysis of what has caused the Hispanic population to be more vaccinated than other groups? I mean, I'm just saying maybe you haven't, but it maybe bears a review. And I've seen, you know, the efforts of Hippocrates and efforts of Dwayne Dean, Ricon Family Services over on South Schuyler, in terms of them doing venues where they vaccinate folks, but you may want to take a look and see what they're doing, which causes the successful numbers.
I appreciate that. We've worked with and assisted with, and obviously sometimes many agencies come up with their own events, which we applaud. It helps take, you know, the work off our plate, so to speak, so that we can do it elsewhere if somebody else is able to do the same thing. We talked about this yesterday, that right now we are at a point, regardless of whether I'm Hispanic, African American, or white, since this is not being mandated, this all comes down to personal choice as to who wants to get it and or why. And that I can't control within the health department. I can, if you want to come get a shot, we're there to provide that service. If you want any other kind of service, we're there to provide that. But ultimately, if your doctor tells you you need to stop drinking, stop smoking, and lose weight, that's all on you.
All right, well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Moving on, don't have anything from schools today. The VAC, the monthly report, can I get a motion while Karen comes up to put that on file? Ms. Polk, second. Mr. Long, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Oh, you can stay in the back. All right.
Yeah, well,
Restraining order.
I don't have much. Really just an invitation to remember that Memorial Day is Monday. You're all invited to the courthouse. We will have our ceremony. We are honoring women veterans.
Oh, really?
Yes, honoring women veterans. So please come out. Our guest speaker will be the Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs Women's Veterans Representative who lives in Bourbonnais. So her name is Courtney Hopkins. And then Kelly Fry, many of you might know, she is a lead nurse at Riverside. Both of them are women veterans from, I think they're both Army veterans. And then Peggy Meyer, many of you might know, is a U.S. Marine veteran. So they will be our main 3 women representing for the women veterans. And then the other thing, we have a graduation in Vets Court June 16th. So we would appreciate all of you coming to that too. And other than that, unless there's questions, my report is as it is.
How did you decide?
What time on Monday?
Monday is at, oh gosh, 10, I believe. 10. I'm going to say 10. Be there at 10. I'm pretty sure it's 10. Sorry.
Hope it's not 4.
It's 9. It's 9 at Memorial Gardens. So they do the cemetery first at Memorial Gardens, and then they come to the courthouse at 10.
Okay.
So, yes.
Mrs. Weber.
Thank you for your report, and thank you. On your report under partnerships, these initials are vague to me. What is SSVF and MSHV are very busy?
SSVF is Supportive Services for Veterans and Families, and Midwest Shelters for Homeless Veterans. So they are our partners in housing the homeless veterans.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
that they're busy. And
Yep.
Anything else for Karen?
Nope, I'm good.
Thank you.
Yep.
Moving on. County Administrator Anita Speckman.
Good morning. I have a relatively, I think, short report this morning. First, as we look at open positions within the county, we have a total of 15, 13 of which are probation officers, actually 4 of which are probation officers. I talked to Tom this morning about that. He believes he's close to 1 potential new hire, but that still leaves 3 openings. So he continues to struggle with hiring. Most of, let's see, what do I have here? 15 current, 9 openings are over 30 days old, which is about the smallest number since October. So at least we're knocking off some of these older positions. We have really at this point, highway and probation are our 2 biggest departments looking for positions. Highway continues to look for an engineering technician. They have left a temporary engineering intern position and the summer maintenance worker on there. Of the summer maintenance, when I talked to Greg recently, he likes to have 3 to 4, and he had 1. So I think that's it in terms of openings. Collective bargaining agreements, we're still working on the coroner and corrections. Those are in process. As noted earlier in the meeting, the cyber policy application, which we were required to complete our application early. So for next year, for 2023, in March, we were required to give them an update as to where we're at. I will tell you that with Kevin's work on our network infrastructure, we've already been approved for renewal next year, and we're going to receive a $250 rebate on this year's policy. I'll tell you this, I've heard from other organizations, not members of the county, and they are seeing increases of $10,000. So the cyber liability policies are increasing greatly due to the environment and the number of malicious intent that's out there right now targeting cyber infrastructure. So we're very lucky to have Kevin here, who does such a good job for us. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention, I talked briefly with the chairman this morning. We have two lingering litigations that are moving to the forefront over the last 30 days and over the next 30 to 60 days. What happens is these types of claims sit out there for quite a while, and then they kind of bubble up as they might move forward as you near a hearing. So there's depositions and a lot of behind the scenes work. I work very hard with the departments in ensuring that we've got the right documentation. Our attorney feels pretty good about where we stand in both these cases. So I continue to work on that fiercely, I guess is my way to describe it.
Fierce is a good word. It's the only way to change a culture, is to really take a hard look at these things on a case-by-case basis. So, and we're changing a culture. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Nita, a friend of mine's Alderman Reggie Jones, Alderman the 7th Ward. His son just graduated from NIU with a degree in engineering. That's kind of unique, African American with an engineering degree. And I know his mother said if he doesn't find a job, he's going to have to work at the store. So that they have right at Schuyler and Oak. And I can give you Reggie's contact information. I think his son is back home now, and he graduated a week ago Saturday.
Well, I strongly encourage any new graduates to go, and anyone looking for a job to go to the county's website. So www.k3county.net. And if you go to Human Resources and click on the link, there's an opening with all our job openings are listed there. And we're happy to take applications and to reach out to anyone that is interested and that meets those qualifications. So absolutely encourage him or any other new graduates to stay here within the community and help us build a good, strong community. And we'd love to have any of these young people join the county and look forward to a nice long career with us.
All right. Any other questions for Anita? Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. Under administrative appointments, reappointments, if I can get a motion to combine and approve, then I'll read them in the record. Let's go with Mr. Fairfield, second. Mr. Long. It's the resignation of Mark Wackett from the Kenke County Regional Planning Commission. Appointment of Gerald Hoekstra to the Sheriff's Merit Commission. Appointment of Dr. Edward Kent Fry to the Kenke County Board of Health. Appointment of Catherine Joan Hamblin to the Kenke County Board of Health. Reappointment of Antonio Carrico to the Kankakee County Board of Health, and reappointment of Joe Swanson to the University of Illinois Extension.
Right, but he's a Reggie Jr., so he can put him.
I guess we need a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. No dissent, motion carries. Openings. One opening on the following: Clawson Park Drainage District, X-Line Creek Drainage District, Cabry Fire Protection District, Pilot Township Fire Protection District, St. Anne Fire Protection District, Kenke County Regional Planning Commission. Two openings on the following: the Kenke River Forest Preserve District Board, the Canavan Drainage District, and Mantino Number 9 Drainage District. All right, so the next, under new business, the next item has to do with our entertainment licenses. So as I spoke with Mr. Hess on this, normally the only entertainment licenses, for the vast majority, well over 99% it has to be, come associated with a liquor license application. So as long as I've been here and talking to Roger, as long as he's been on the board, those entertainment licenses have always gone to the chairman, to just like everything else with the liquor licenses. We make sure that they've got, you know, their bonds and their insurance and everything's what's supposed to be, and then sign off on it, and they have their event or series of events if it's, you know, if it's an establishment, a bar, restaurant, whatever, in the rural areas. Well, the need arose for me to take a look at the county code, and as far as Roger says, he's never seen it done this way, but it was the Criminal Justice Committee that approves all the entertainment licenses, is what it says in the county code. But as far as I know, nobody's ever done that. Going back previous even to the chairman before me, previous back to Chairman Cruz, and I couldn't find anything that says criminal justice had ever done that. So as I talked to Roger, I said, you know, is it something that the committee would want to do or use the chairman? And he thought, well, why would you want to do that differently? It doesn't make sense. So we'd have to change the county code in order for the liquor commissioner, i.e. chairman, to sign off on the entertainment licenses under, you know, with the obvious, you know, the authority of the board to do so. It's this, we're not changing any of the requirements of the license, just streamlining the process, because it has to be done within 30 days. What if there's, you know, a hiccup? You know, that 30-day rule is hard and fast. So I do actually have some entertainment licenses in now that we're going to have to act on in criminal justice if we don't change this. So if we change it, it would change for the next full board meeting, and then I could obviously do what we need to do with that other entertainment license or any others. So you kind of see as a sampling, we'll work with the state's attorney's office to get the correct verbiage changed, but it basically, you know, the county clerk, you know, delivers said application accompanying items to the chairman of the Criminal Justice Committee. So we would just change that to the chairman of the county board, just like they do right now and have been, and then they take the money and do the deposit. So it says deposit the license fee. The Criminal Justice Committee shall immediately pay the license fee received to the county treasurer. Well, right now, the county clerk has been taking it and giving it to the county treasurer. So we're kind of saying, let's kind of keep it the way we've been doing it. It seems more streamlined. We just need to codify it for legal reasons. Does that make sense? Is there any questions, Mr. Hess? Did you have any comments there?
No, I just like, sorry, thank you, Chairman. I just like to make the motion, we amend this and make it the right way.
Okay, per the explanation?
Per the explanation and working with the state's attorney's office.
Okay, second with Mr. Featherling. Ms. Weber, please.
Thank you. I just wonder if you'll then also take out that said committee shall act on the application.
Yes, yeah, we'll work and get the right language for the full board, but that's the intent, was to remove criminal justice. Now, as board members, you can still visit, especially if it's in your district, and if you see, you know, violations or things that are unsafe or anything like that, you still would have that ability to bring that concern to criminal justice or to me, and we could still act on it. Because if it's, they do the same event every year, well, maybe next year they need to be advised that you can't do this or that or whatever, you know. So pretty cut and dried. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there any other new or old business?
I've got one thing, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As far as the openings, the one opening in St. Anne Fire Protection District, Dwayne Meyer, a longtime fire trustee, is retiring this year, and they have an applicant coming forward, and I will encourage that applicant to get his application in. So that opening, I think, is filled as far as the Fire Protection District is concerned, but getting the paperwork to the administration office and getting it in front of this board will be the next process. But they have somebody, one person, in line for that. Okay. So thank you.
All right. Any other thoughts, Mr. Hess?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second for Mr. Featherling. Always coming in second. Are you going fishing? Not today. All those in favor say aye. Sorry. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. I was just going to try to drag it out a little longer in case you were fishing.